and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Sunday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. And I mentioned this a couple of days ago, but I'll bring it up again. I need the help from some of you faithful commenters and faithful viewers. Hey there, Kevron. May the 4th be with you as well for all of you Star Wars fans out there. But I need the help of some of you faithful commenters and followers and viewers. Tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. There for a while, we were doing good. I think we gained about 100 subscribers in about a month. And I was feeling good about the channel growing. And then we reached 1,340, I believe, is where we are now. And I think we've been there about 3 weeks. So we grew, and we got to 1,340, and we just stopped and just cannot get over that mark. So if you're a faithful follower, faithful commenter, faithful viewer, tell your friends about the channel. Tell your family about the channel. Let's see if we can get back on that good side and gain about 100 other subs here the next month or so. I'd like to get to 1,500 by football season. Don't know that we'll get there, but I feel like since so many people that watch this channel watch college football, if we could get to 1,500 by the time college football starts, I think we could grow and reach 2,000 by this time next year. But we need to get to 1,500 by the end of August when college football starts. But tonight, I'm not going to be on here long. I want to end everybody's weekend on a positive note. 9 matches last night at our SWA benefit show. We did the show for a lady that's battling cancer named Miss Pat. Had a benefit show for her. So we had 9 matches last night. I reffed all 9 matches. So if you enjoy seeing me referee, go back and watch those matches whenever they get posted on YouTube. And hey there, Gemma. Glad you're here. And I would tell you, yes, the only problem is I don't have all the equipment and all that kind of good stuff. Plus, I don't know how to tell people how to join. So even if I had the right stuff, I couldn't help you. But I don't. I'm cheap. All I have is a phone that I go live on. Hey there, Carolina. Glad to have you here. But 9 matches last night. I reffed all 9 matches. Hey there, Grayson. Glad to have you here. So that was our benefit show for Miss Pat battling cancer. Now this Saturday, I'll be back at 244 Livestock Road for our normal, typical second Saturday of the month wrestling show. And Gemma, I am a professional wrestling independent referee. Thank you for asking. I'm glad you would like to know. This July will be 18 years that I've been refereeing professional independent wrestling. Hopefully, I've got at least 18 more years left in me. That is my goal anyway, at least that long, because, you know, I've got twin boys. They're 6 years old. I don't know if both of them will be wrestlers or not. Chances are at least one of the two will be, and I would like to be able to ref long enough to where when they grow up, if they're both or one a wrestler, I can ref their match and say, hey, I got to ref my own kids' wrestling match. So that is my goal. But July will be 18 years I've been a professional wrestling independent referee. This Saturday, as always, tickets are $5 unless it's a big show, and then tickets are $10. Our next big show is coming up in July. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Bell time is 7 o'clock. You can go to SWA's Facebook page and find the flyer for the show, but there's probably 25 wrestlers on the flyer. So if I came on here and tried to run down all the guys that are going to be there, I would miss somebody. But I will tell you, Teo will be there. Jack Salem will be there. Jimmy Lee will be there. Jackson Carter will be there. And then we've got Dangerous Affairs versus Category 7 in a no DQ tag team match. That should be a fun match. And we'll have a full deck of matches. That is the one match we are advertising on the Facebook page. It's not always a good idea to announce all your matches because there's always a little bitty message on the flyer that says card subject to change. And if you announce 8 or 9 matches, more than likely 3 or 4 of those are going to change. That's just the life of independent wrestling. So the more matches you advertise, the more matches you'll end up changing. So we're advertising one match, that is Dangerous Affairs versus Category 7 in a tag team match. That is no disqualification. Speaking of that, last night at our benefit show for Miss Pat, I think we had a Falls Count Anywhere match and a Anything Goes match last night. Earlier today, we had the NASCAR race at Texas, the Worth 400. Joey Logano became our 7th different winner this season. We've had 7 winners in 10 races, so we are definitely on par right now to have at least 16 different winners come playoff time if they continue down the road they're going right now. And JD, I'm going to assume with you saying that you must not be a Joey Logano fan. And it's funny because, everybody knows that I'm a Kyle Busch fan, but I don't think those days are going to last much longer because I'm a huge Kyle Busch fan, have been since he's been in NASCAR. But, Kyle Busch doesn't like losing. And if he doesn't start winning, I don't think he'll be around but a couple more years. His original goal, and he still says his goal, is to race until his son gets in Cup and then retire. And that would be about 8 more years. Hey there, Jacob. Glad to have you here. But Kyle Busch is not going to run 8 more years running 20th place. It's just not going to happen. But until Kyle Busch does retire, I'm a Kyle Busch fan. But I've always said if I wasn't a Kyle Busch fan, I'd be a Joey Logano fan. And the only reason is years and years and years and years and years ago when Joey Logano was, 8 or 9 years old, maybe, Mark Martin, who I was a huge fan of, in the latter days of Mark Martin's career when Logano was racing, I want to say Bandoleros or maybe mini go-karts, one of the two, Mark Martin did an interview and told the whole world, y'all better watch out for Joey Logano. This kid's going to be good. He may be the best driver NASCAR's ever seen. And at the time, Logano couldn't have been but 8 or 9 years old. And I was a huge Mark Martin fan and knew Mark Martin could drive the wheels off a race car. So anybody that Mark Martin talked good about and Mark Martin thought was good, I immediately was like, okay, if Mark is about this guy, this kid's going to be good. And sure enough, he's really good. But he's my second driver behind Kyle Busch. If Logano is still racing when Kyle Busch does retire, then Logano will be my favorite until he retires. But, Logano's 35. Well, he'll be 35 this month. And he's already won 3 championships. He might retire in 4 or 5 more years because what else can he do? But I'll pull for him as long as he races. But it seems like Logano is the modern day Jeff Gordon. When Jeff Gordon raced, Jeff Gordon was either really loved or really hated. There was nobody that was in between on Jeff Gordon. You either loved him or you hated him. And the ones that hated him would make up all kind of stuff that just flat out was blatantly just obviously not true, but they would say it because they had to have some reason why they didn't like him outside of the fact he won all the time. And the ones that loved him because he won all the time. Well, Logano doesn't win races at the rate that Jeff Gordon won races, but Logano has been more consistent over a long period of time. Jeff Gordon won 4 championships, but he won those 4 championships in 5 years. And then outside of that, he didn't do a whole lot. Logano's been consistent now for a decade. So, he is more consistent over a long period of time than Jeff Gordon was. He just don't win the races. Jeff Gordon did, but winning races is secondary to winning championships, and Jeff Gordon won 4. And at the rate Logano's going, he might end up winning, 5 or 6. But it seems like everybody that watches NASCAR is either a Joey Logano fan or a Joey Logano hater. There's just no in between on Logano. And I never have really understood the fact that, outside of the fact that he consistently wins races and wins championships, why everybody hates him so much. It seems like when Logano wins races, they complain about something he did or didn't do. And when he don't win a race, they complain about what he did or didn't do. It's amazing to me that it seems like Joey Logano is one of those drivers, either everybody loves him or everybody hates him. Now, JD, I agree with you on Denny Hamlin. I've never been a Denny Hamlin fan because and it's not just this way in NASCAR. If you watch the channel, it's every sport that I follow. I don't like anybody that causes drama. I hate drama. I can't stand drama. And Denny Hamlin, since he's been in NASCAR, is always, almost every day in the news for something he said, something he tweeted, something he did. And, if you're growing the sport, I'm all about it. I'm fine with it. NASCAR is finally recovering from the years that Jimmy Johnson almost single-handedly destroyed the sport. And it's taken them 15 years to recover from it. But they finally are, slowly but surely. If Denny Hamlin's wanting to help grow the sport, I'm fine with it. But I just don't think being on social media or doing your podcast every day and every week and bashing the sport, bashing drivers, I just don't see how that helps the sport. Now, Denny Hamlin's a phenomenal race car driver. But I don't like him because he causes too much drama off the track. Jacob, Martin Truex Jr. retired, but I was a fan of his for a while. I think by the time he signed with Joe Gibbs Racing, his glory days were way far behind him. But I was always a fan of his myself. Never a favorite, but I did, like him. But I've never liked Denny Hamlin because he just talks too much stuff. If you want to do a podcast where you're, doing like Dale Jr. and talking about the sport and, the goods and the bads and interviewing drivers, I have no problem with that. But almost everything Denny Hamlin says, he's bashing a driver and bashing the sport. How are you helping the sport by talking bad about it? I just don't understand it. And it seems like if he don't get his way, he's got to whine about it. So I'll never be a Denny Hamlin fan. But JD, I think the only way he wins a championship, now see, he's not like Mark Martin. No, Mark Martin won 2 and got shafted both times. And I was mad at NASCAR for a while for that reason. Now, of course, Mark Martin being the way he is, he would never complain about it. But it's just funny to me how Mark Martin drove for 100 years, and the only 2 times he ever got in trouble for a penalty just happened to be the 2 times he won a championship. Something about that just didn't sit right with me. But he got shafted twice. Denny Hamlin's never been close to a championship, and I don't think he'll ever win one unless he just accrues so many points throughout the season that by the time it comes down to the Final Four, he makes it. And then, if the final race is ever at Daytona or, Talladega or Richmond, tracks that anybody can win or tracks that Denny Hamlin is consistently good at, he can win one. But outside of that, if the final race is always Phoenix, or now they're claiming it's going back to, Homestead, I don't think he'll win one. Now, if they were to ever go back to the old days where they just had one, full season, February all the way through March, then I think Denny could win enough races that by September he'd have it locked up and he could win one. But Denny Hamlin always buckles under pressure, and as long as he does that, I don't think he'll win one. But I don't think NASCAR will ever go back to that, only because NASCAR wants to compete with the NFL, which I don't understand because that's not a NASCAR thing. That's every sport thing. Nobody is ever beating the NFL. It's just not going to happen. If you try, you're wasting your time. It's not going to happen. But you do have some NASCAR fans that also watch the NFL. And the only way that you're going to make those NASCAR fans that are also NFL fans not flip over to the NFL is to have a championship worth watching. And the year Dale Jarrett won the title, the year Bobby Labonte won the title, the year Matt Kenseth won the title, the year that Jeff Green won the what was then the Busch Series title. They had those things wrapped up in the middle of September. Well, if you're a NASCAR fan that also likes the NFL, if it's September and the NFL is starting and the NASCAR Cup Series is already pretty much determined a champion, why watch the last 6 or 7 races? Even if your driver wins the race, it doesn't matter. He's not winning the championship. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. Now, I do think they might tweak the playoffs right now with the way they're doing that. But as far as going back to the way it used to be, where it's just one long season, I think those days are long gone because you're wanting fans to watch all the way until November. And if it comes mid-September and the guy that leads the points leads by 300 points, he's got it won. The last handful of races do not mean diddly squat. People don't care who wins when a champion is already decided. So I think those days are long gone, but they might tweak the current playoff system a little bit. But the playoff system, as long as a popular driver wins a championship, people are fine with it. But when a driver that nobody likes wins a championship, there's a problem with it. But, it's been around 11 years, and so far, there has not been a back-to-back champion. Nobody has won 2 straight titles. Now, Kyle Busch has won 2 championships during the playoffs, and Logano's won 3. But Kyle Busch did not win his back-to-back, and Logano hasn't won any of his back-to-back. And that was the point of the playoffs, was to make sure we didn't have no more days of Jimmy Johnson where you're seeing the same driver win it every year, because that's boring. That runs fans off. So it served its purpose in the fact that we're seeing a new champion every year. We might see repeating champions, but we're not seeing them repeat back-to-back years. And that was the whole point of it, was to bring parity, to bring it to where you're going to see a different driver every year. And I think since it's done what it's supposed to do, they're not going to change it. And Jacob, I never was a fan of Dale Earnhardt. Never did like him. And I sure didn't like his son. But see, I don't like Chase Elliott, because to me, Chase Elliott is only in NASCAR because he's Bill's son. That's the only reason. If his name was Chase Jones or Chase Smith, you wouldn't see him. But just because he's Bill Elliott's son, he got a ride. So I'll never be a Chase Elliott fan. It will not happen. Not to mention, he has the personality of a tree, which makes it worse. But he didn't earn diddly squat. He got his ride because he's Bill Elliott's son. So I will never be a Chase Elliott fan. Now, I love what Dale Earnhardt Jr. does now that he's retired. He's always trying to help the sport in any way possible, which is what you should do. Why would you not want to see the sport grow if you're involved in it? And his podcasts are sometimes somewhat entertaining, but as far as his on the track, didn't like him. He got a job because he was Dale Earnhardt's son, and that was the only reason. But Logano wins the race today, followed by Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Eric Jones gets his best finish of the season. Ricky Stenhouse, 6th. Austin Dillon, 7th. John Nemechek, 8th. Christopher Bell, 9th. And Daniel Suarez rounded out the top 10. Now, I did mention, SWA a few minutes ago, and the fact that I'll be back there this upcoming week with our, normal every month second Saturday show. But I'm also going to talk some Backlash sometime this week. I was going to do it tonight, but they've only announced 4 matches, and I know they're going to have more than 4 matches. So I'm trying to wait until they announce at least a 5th match. They might go with 5, but I'm thinking probably 6. But there's no way they're going to have a PLE with 4 matches, and I don't want to talk about it now and only mention 4 matches. So I'm hoping by Wednesday or Thursday they'll announce at least a 5th match. That's the only problem with, WrestleMania being so late in the year this year, with it being the 3rd weekend of April. And now you're coming back with Backlash 3 weeks later. So there's been no time to really build up any kind of feuds. So that's why they haven't announced any matches, because they haven't had time to do anything. I was hoping they would just totally skip the month of May, but they're not. They're coming right back with Backlash 3 weeks after WrestleMania. So maybe by midweek they'll announce at least a 5th match. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What is a tornado's favorite game? Twister. And thank you, Jacob. I appreciate those kind words. Some people were telling me this morning how much they were entertained by the way I referee, and I try to be entertaining, because the referee is in the ring, and sometimes you're out of the way, sometimes you're in the way, sometimes the fans don't even recognize you. But I feel like the times where they're going to recognize you, you need to get their attention and be entertaining. So I appreciate those words, Jacob. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.